going crazy with my fig tree trying to do a little bit of something. Like I said, hopefully pretty soon it'll be big enough and this meeting is being live streamed. Okay, cool.
Yep.
By saying it's me, okay, cool, awesome. Yeah, I do consent to that. So let's go. All right, let me do this. All right, cool. So welcome to Beyond Sports with Paul and Jeremy. I'm Paul, and
Jeremy.
that's Jeremy. All right, cool. Oh yeah, I forgot. I got this book back here. Awesome book. I suggest you guys grab it. It's a good read, at least so far. I'll find a little bit more about it in a second, but thanks for putting this book together, Jeremy. I appreciate it. Well, quick question, just with the book, what inspired you to become a multi type of author, not necessarily just publications of journal articles, but writing a whole book? By the way, like what inspired you to do that?
That's something I wanted to do since I was a kid, to be honest. Like, I used to take a whole notebook, like a whole ream of notebook paper, and I'd be like, all right, I'm gonna write a book. And I try to write, and I just wanted to try to write through every single page. And I
Yeah.
only went to like, 5 pages or something because it's hard. And a child doesn't have that type of discipline. But it's kind of been one of those things I wanted to do since I was a kid, just to try to make an entire story, actually have it make sense, have a beginning, middle, and end, and all that stuff. And when kind of things shut down and we weren't going to work as much and all that, I was like, man, I got time. I'm gonna try to go ahead and do this and actually like follow through on something that I've been wanting to do for a really long time. So I
Awesome.
had the opportunity. I did my best. So thanks for buying it, guys. Trip. Show the cover again. Let everybody see if they want to see it. Check it out. Buy it on the Amazon. It's on. You can do it. You can buy the paperback. You can buy the ebook. Whatever you want. It's on Amazon. Check it out. Seems like it's a good story, I think, and people are liking it. My mom's my biggest fan. She really loved it. So, check it out. It's something to do. And I also felt like, hey, maybe I might need, to try to get into another field. We'll see what happens. But it's hard, man. It's hard. Like publicity, getting people to read it and stuff like that is super hard. So thank you for buying
Yeah.
it. And anybody else that does and has bought it, thank you very much.
Yeah, for sure. You can find the link to purchase Guys Trip on our Instagram, as well as our Facebook and a lot of our other social media outlets as well. Future tag. Um, all right, now let's talk about some sports, Jeremy. So, what can we look forward to in today's episode?
Um, let's see. There's a lot going on. So the Olympics is coming to a close. So we've had a full Olympics worth of stuff to talk about. So we can do that. NBA free agency started a few days ago, and it's been really interesting so far. We can talk about that. NBA draft happened. There's a lot going on. I feel a rant in me. So at some point, I think I could just go off on a tangent and just go on a rant. Who knows? But there's a lot going on.
Hey,
Where do you want to
I'm
start?
looking forward to it. Let's start with the Olympics, right? So, um, which Olympic aspect are you most interested in? What are some of the biggest takeaways, and what are your thoughts on just how it's playing out with the expectations and what's actually happening right now?
There's a lot because it's the Olympics. There's so many sports. There's sports that I haven't even watched a second of. There's sports that I followed a lot. So whatever you like, you could probably find it in the Olympics. I think one thing that we follow closely is Team USA basketball, the men's, and that's because it's composed of NBA players, and we didn't know if they would be actually able to come together as a team and play and win games. And so far, they haven't been perfect. They've looked shaky at times, but here they are in the semifinals. So
Yeah.
if they win in the semifinals, they're guaranteed a medal. If they lose, they can still play for bronze. So they will get two chances essentially to play for medals here, and that's kind of all you can ask for. So it's been okay. They look better as they've gone along, but I'm still not sold on the team quite yet. What do you think?
Yeah, I had that same feeling. And one of the things that Jeremy mentioned to me about Team USA basketball was going back and watching that Spain USA game, and for some reason I accidentally watched it on accident because I thought it was something else. Saw the wrong stream, whatever, and I saw the first game, and I was like, wow, like what is going on with Team USA? No one can make open threes. The passes are off. There doesn't seem to be any type of leader. I was so confused with how the game was going, and I didn't understand why they looked so bad. Like there was no leadership at all. Not from KD, not from Dame, not from LeBron. He wasn't even there. But I will just throw that in. We'll throw that in for for the algorithm. No, but again, we didn't see Durant stepping up. We didn't see Lillard stepping up, and these are two of the guys that I expect to take that leadership role at this point of the Olympics, right? There's not a lot of guys that are there. Durant is what, like all-time leading scorer or something like that, or top some, yeah, you know. So like he's had experience with these games. He knows clutch points and or clutch shots, and I didn't really see that from that first game. So what about the second game against Spain did you notice, and what can you take away from that?
So for me, it was just kind of gradual progression of getting better and making shots. That was kind of it. The one thing that I didn't like about what Team USA has been doing, I don't care for the fact that they just shoot a lot of shots. They'll just come off and they'll just shoot a three and they'll shoot a three. And if it goes in, good. If it doesn't, that's too bad. Right. But there's no, to me, there's not a whole lot of rebounding. There's not a whole lot of effort plays. It's just kind of running up and down. It is an NBA style basketball, but the other teams aren't playing really that same type of NBA basketball. Like they're being more aggressive on the boards. They're trying to actually score. They're cutting. They're moving off the ball. They're making nice passes. And that's not to say that Team USA isn't doing that, but I think Team USA's first option is shooting a 3-pointer. And if that doesn't go in, I'm not seeing a whole lot of offensive rebounding. I'm not seeing a bunch of guys actually try to win, try to just go out there because I think they have it in their minds that they're better than the other team, so they're just going to do it. It's just kind of I don't really care to see just shooting a bunch of threes and not taking anybody off the dribble, not really going for it.
Yeah,
Like I've seen Draymond take a couple guys. You know what I mean? Like I rarely see it. It happens sometimes, but you have these guys who are not just great shooters, but they're supreme athletes, and you want to feel like they're going to take over. They're going to assert their dominance. They're going to cross somebody up, dunk on them, right? You want to see that. Like to me, when you know a player is better than other players, is when he does that type of thing. And speaking of LeBron, you know that when LeBron was at his peak, what was he doing? He was in the lane all the time. He was dunking on
yeah,
guys. He was getting and ones. That's how you knew he was better. And that provides a sort of energy for the team. It sets the tone. It's the physical tone. And the tone has not been set to be physical. It hasn't been set to hustle, to work super hard. It's just
yeah,
about do the shots go in or not. And it's weird because Coach Popovich is always like, I don't like the 3-pointer. I don't like the 3-pointer. But these guys are just shooting 3-pointers. Like, does his coaching have no impact on the team right now? It just doesn't kind of make sense how that works, where he doesn't care for the 3-pointer, but that's a huge part of their offense. And if it goes in, it goes in. And if it doesn't, that's going to be a problem. But now what we're playing France again. Did we play France? Yeah, we're playing France again, right?
yeah,
And that's going to be an interesting issue when it comes down to it, because down the stretch now you're like, well, they're going to take over more so than our guys are going to take over down the stretch if it comes to that. So we'll see if that happens or not. But if it gets close, I do have a hard problem or have a hard time seeing US take over because we haven't seen it so far. And you're right, there's a lack of leadership there.
yeah. And I think that's the one thing that I noticed with them playing against France. Like France didn't back down. They had certain guys doing certain roles. Like Fournier was out there just busting them up, and then he got surprised with a nice contract, anyways.
Hmm.
So congrats to him in free agency as well. But you had Gobert that was down there. No one could really do much, like his purest size really was an issue, right? And I didn't really see too many people that were even going against him doing anything. And without making those shots, it was definitely going to be an issue. And that's an interesting point when you're talking about Popovich and talking about what they're doing as far as the 3 point shooting. And I understand that Popovich is a really good coach as well. And I don't think that he, I get the sense that he didn't feel that this Olympics was his point to try to push his type of offensive style on these players. He kind of said, "Hey, this is the Olympics. Do you guys want, let's have fun? How would you guys like to play? Let's try to figure out something that works for everybody." A lot of those guys, they probably want to just do threes. Like they probably are not trying to drive in the lane, take chances of getting hurt, and then they're probably also tired. So they're like, "Yeah, let's just get open shots, hit a bunch of threes, win like that." He's like, "All right, let's incorporate this. We'll have a little bit of driving, and that'll be that, right? That's going to be our game plan for this Olympics, and that's what they're doing right now." So I think that could be something that's kind of interesting, but they're definitely going to have their challenges and struggles, especially if they can't continue to hit shots, right? And even guys that have gotten hot at times seem to have gotten cold as well, right? So they don't really have a dedicated shooter or dedicated scorer, I'll even say, to get them to that next level consistently. So that's going to be their biggest struggle or challenge, I think, is just making sure that they can stay consistent. Somebody needs to step up and show that they can be a leader. And I think if they're able to do that, they can still put a lot of pressure on this France team. But it will be very interesting to see what happens after this point. So,
Yeah, I agree. I did hear a lot of people saying that the team didn't want to learn Popovich's offense and that maybe they weren't so happy with it. So maybe they've been kind of resisting anyway. So maybe he doesn't, maybe he's just like, y'all do what y'all want. Maybe it's just like some kids that you can't control. So you just let them run around. And maybe that's what's happening right now. I don't know. I don't get it. And Popovich knows he's only here for this one Olympics, right? Like they need a new coach because he's only signed on for one. So maybe it's just like whatever happens, happens. He has no reason to really try any harder than they do. Because if he wins gold, that's great. If he doesn't, what are they going to fire him? Yeah, because they are anyway, basically. So it doesn't matter. So maybe that for him is kind of like he's not going to get fired. It's kind of house money in a sense for him. So maybe he doesn't care that much. So everybody's
yeah,
kind of on everybody's just coasting right now.
if I had to bank off of anything, I'll say that I think Popovich cares. I feel like the way that he's been vocal with a lot of different things, the way that he establishes himself, and the way that he puts his energy together, I think that he definitely cares. But his main thing is just like what you see in San Antonio. He has to get people to buy into his system or buy into what he's selling or whatever, right? So that's just one of the things that he has to do, right? He changes a lot of players' style when they get there as well, right? Nobody thought that Kawhi Leonard was going to be doing, well, I won't say nobody, but like a lot of people didn't think Kawhi Leonard was going to do some of the things that he did with his style, right? He understands how to use players, how to get them in positions to succeed, but maybe not necessarily the funnest or the most fun to watch, I guess. You know what I mean? So I think that again, with Pop and with his respect of the different players, and I feel like they have a lot of respect for him as well. I doubt that it's just the players just don't want to buy into his system at all. It's probably just let's figure out something that works for everybody, and I think that that's probably the way that they went more than anything else. The other stuff is just feeding into it. I think because people are like, oh, they're not playing Popovich's style. Well, his Olympic style doesn't mean that it's the same as his NBA style. Like they're two different types of games. You know, Olympics or international basketball and NBA basketball, two different games. You know, and that's one of the reasons why we can see some of these international teams really putting up strong performances because they understand the international game and what can translate very well and what can't. You know, so I think that it just might be a little bit more the difference between the two more than anything else. Along those lines with Popovich. So
Yeah, and it's for him to install his total offense. Maybe there's just not enough time, and maybe that's kind of been what the problem is. It's just such there's such
that's a really good point.
compressed timeline for all of this. So maybe they're like, we don't have enough time to learn all this, but we're really good at shooting threes. So let's do that. And I'm just surprised that like I see Dame shooting so many threes. And like I said before, Dame is super athletic. He doesn't always like to show it, but like
Mm-hmm.
he can take a guy out the dribble, get to the lane all he wants. So maybe he's kind of conserving energy. I see him shoot a lot of threes, and he's a good 3-point shooter, yeah, but it would be nice to have those energizing plays, those type of plays where you see that they're trying, just effort on both ends. But
Yeah.
the defensive end, I think, has gotten better for the team. So if they can continue to put effort on the defensive end, then they can make it close to the end, and then it can just be anybody's game. But you have to wonder, is France, any less talented than the United States? Because they should be, right? In theory, they should be less talented, but I don't feel like they're drastically less talented. So I don't think there's a huge gulf in that area.
Yeah, I think that again, with the international game, with those players from France playing in the NBA and having a lot of experience and playing actual leadership roles on some of their teams as well, or being starters and playing essential roles, I guess. And I think that by itself shows that these guys are ready, right? Like, it's not a bunch of people that haven't played against KD before, right? Like, they know who KD is, they know who Lillard is. Like, they've had these guys try to attack them. So I think it'll be interesting to see. When's the next game, by the way?
I'm checking that out right now. So if you give me like 3 seconds, if you filibuster for me, then I might could find something for you. So yeah, I mean, there's also Slovenia is playing Australia in the
Ooh,
next semifinal.
ooh, that's gonna be good. I'm gonna try to watch that game for sure. Josh
Yeah, you
Giddey
have any thoughts on that?
versus
Oh yeah,
Luka
your boy
Doncic.
Josh Giddey.
Yeah, I don't know about that. I don't know. Speaking of that, I think that's a cool part to jump into the draft with too, right? Like Josh Giddey, I think he's a good point guard, good prospect. He's not a two guard. He's not a three. He's a point guard. His handling is awesome. His passing, his vision is amazing. His shot is very inconsistent. He's not going to be that catch and shoot type of guy. If he does play the three, it's going to be more of a kick out, and then he's going to have to decide what he needs to do. But if you have him playing the three or the two, and you're passing him balls to do catch and shoot, or while he's open, and he starts missing, you're not going to have that same type of trust, right? But he can get a lot of guys open, and I think that that's one of the interesting things. And that Oklahoma City team, they had an interesting draft. Let me pull up their draft picks, by the way.
All right,
Let's
and
see.
it's USA versus Australia in the semi, and then France and Slovenia. So that changes everything. So we're not going to admit that we completely just fumbled that. We're not going to say
So
that
it's
at
who?
all.
Who was it again?
It's USA and Australia playing, so it's actually a lot better of a matchup for the United States playing against Australia. So
Oh, they
the
did they
analysis for
they
Australia
lost.
will still stand.
They lost to them earlier this year, right?
Yeah, I mean they lost to the other team too, so they lost to France too. So can we count
Mm,
that? I don't know. I think it's a different time. It was an exhibition. So Australia is good, but I think Australia is not as good as France. So I think that's at least one consolation there. That I think France, and that's at twelve
yeah,
fifteen a.m. Eastern time. So that's easy for you to watch at 9:15.
yeah. I'll try to do that, dude. It's crazy. I just put in the the basic stuff like OKC Thunder's draft picks, right? 2021. There's so much information on the internet that you can't find anything sometimes. Like,
Mm-hmm.
what the? Like, why is there so many different things that you can't really see? All right, so let's see. I pull it up. They talk about the draft. They talk about where they got it, the deal. I just want to know who they picked because I think they had Trey Mann was one. Josh Giddey was another. Let's see. Okay, cool. So Josh Giddey was one. They got Sun Gun, but I think they traded him away to Houston. Trey Mann was another one. Jeremiah Robinson Earl, another pick that I like, and then Aaron Wiggins, right? So a couple things down there, right? They already have Shea Gilchrist Alexander, right? And yeah, and one of the things that was talked about was that they considered trading him, right? They considered trading him and adding other pieces. Honestly, I think that if you're going to add Josh Giddey, you don't necessarily need him. I don't think that's the best matchup. And then they doubled down by getting another point guard. So they end up getting Trey Mann, which is another point guard out of Florida. Again, he's one of those guys where his 3-point shooting hasn't necessarily um, been the best, and that's probably his biggest issue. As far as like leading the offense, he does really good. He gets guys the ball. So I think what they may be trying to do, they may just be trying to pass the ball around a bunch, like the best passing team ever. But now they brought in a bunch of guys that can't shoot, so now the floor starts to shrink. So I don't really like that fit as much. It'll be interesting to see what they end up doing in OKC. But outside of just OKC, were there any teams that you felt did a really good job, or anything that you noticed that you thought was interesting from the NBA draft?
I'll have to go back and look at the exact picks, but I looked over who Detroit got, and I thought they
Mhm.
had a good draft, and that was like my first one was like, yeah, the Pistons did a really good job drafting. So obviously they got the number one overall pick in Cade Cunningham. So
Yeah.
big 6'8" point guard. So it's always good to have a person who's kind of a unique specimen at his position. I have to look at some of the other draft picks here, but I know that I was like, man, that was a pretty good draft.
Yeah.
I'm with
Yeah,
you on
they
that.
I
When
feel
you try to look up their draft picks, it's like, oh,
yeah,
okay,
it's
Isaiah
like
Livers, yeah, Isaiah Livers too from Michigan, good player from Michigan. So staying at home, I think that's kind of like, oh man, why I got to stay at home? But it's a good pick for the Pistons to get a guy from University of Michigan.
yeah, that's pretty good. Yeah, and I think honestly, like one of the things you said was Kay Cunningham going to Detroit was a good thing. And one of the only issue that I would have with that, which isn't really an issue, they have Cade Cunningham, they have Killian Hayes. Killian Hayes struggled at the beginning of last season. They play the same position, similar type of profiles as well with the height. They're both not overly athletic. They're both typically pretty good passers. Cade Cunningham's shot is way past Killian Hayes's. So that's one thing to consider. But if you have these two guys kind of playing together, I think that can actually work because Hayes, maybe he doesn't have that 3-point ability, but he can still drive. And if you are at Cade Cunningham and you're passing it to Killian Hayes, he drives, attracts some defense. Now that leaves Cade Cunningham open to shoot. So that's a little bit of a better situation than I think with OKC. So I definitely think the Pistons did a really good job and they made the right pick with Cade Cunningham. Jalen Green. So have you got to see much about Jalen Green, or have you seen any of his videos, by the way, or his
I haven't.
games? Very interesting player. He's a really good scorer. I think he's going to be a really good player for a long time in this league, as long as he can get more consistent with some of the things that he does. But he can get to the lane, he can get to his spots, and he's just a really interesting player. And being in Houston, I think that that's a perfect fit for him. I think that what they're trying to do in Houston, it definitely works. And I think, let me see, who else did Houston get? Because I feel like they got. Oh yeah, so they got Garba, so Usman Garba, who was another
Yeah,
really good
he's on
player out of Spain.
the Spanish team, right? Yeah.
Yeah, he's a very energetic type of power forward. Maybe a little bit of a project still, but he doesn't have that shooting ability. His 3-point shot is getting a little bit better, but that energy that you want, I think that that's really good for Houston, especially with a team that tries to run up and down the field, the court. And then they also got Sengun from OKC, and Sengun's another guy that he is a more like a 5, maybe 4-ish type of guy, but he's built like that Jokic type of player, right? He can score a lot of different ways. His low post offense, his footwork is really good. He was the MVP of the Turkish league at 18 years old. This guy is a beast, and his passing ability is just amazing. So as he develops, then you have Garba, you also have Jalen Green. Like, this is going to be a very interesting team for the future. So I'm happy to see what they did. I'll always talk a little bit about the Pacers just because that's one of my teams. But what do you think about the Rockets and what they put together, by the way, so far?
I'll have to look, and I'll have to look right now and see who the Rockets got. Because I was still going over who Detroit got, and I was trying to figure that one out. What I liked it. I know they also had Luca Garza for Detroit. That was another one I thought. I was like,
Oh yeah.
that one might be a good pick eventually. You know what I mean? But what do I think about the Rockets? Let's see. Who else did the Rockets get?
Oh, I think
Refresh
Pistons
my
also
memory.
got JT Thor,
Or, yeah.
who's another guy out of Auburn, a freshman with a lot of range. He can actually make the 3 point shots every now and then. The biggest issue with him is that he's not consistent. He dribbles a lot. He gets caught in a lot of traps. He throws bad passes. He's not one of those guys that you can rush, or that can kind of like that he does well when he's rushed. But if you're able to develop his shot, if you're able to develop his defense, now you have one of those guys that's athletic, has a little bit of ball handling ability, and in addition to that, he can make the 3 point shot. So for Detroit, that's another one of those guys that in the future that's definitely going to help their team out overall. So I like that pick for Detroit, the Detroit Pistons as well.
Where do you think that that Houston is trying to go with their picks? They got a lot of young guys, right? Where do you
I
think they're
think
trying to go?
I think they're just trying to continue running, right? Like they're trying to continue a fast pace, running, high scoring type of offense, and I think that that's good for Houston, right? Houston needs that entertainment, and if you saw Jalen Green, let me see, I'm gonna bring up something. We don't really typically share the screen too much, but I'm gonna bring up one thing real quick. Jalen Green, NBA. Uh, all right, so this is Jalen Green for the NBA draft. Like this guy is swagged out, man. Like he has that Houston show up style. Like look at this, man. This guy came in here, the gold necklace, gold chain. Like I feel like these rookies kind of definitely tried to impress. You know what I mean? Like they really came out this year to kind of show their style. Who is this with the pink? Oh yeah, that's Mobley, right? So these guys have a lot of style. I feel like he's gonna fit in really well with Houston with the way that he plays, and then he also has Eric Gordon around there as well. So I don't know if Eric Gordon will stay or not, but I think that they have a lot of stuff down there in Houston that they can do that they can really build off of. So
Also liked I liked what Brooklyn did, and they also got Patty Mills, right? So in free agency, so the Brooklyn I think kind of started to they're trying to shore up areas that they weren't so great at. They got Day'Ron Sharp from UNC. I saw that and I was like, that's a good pick for them too because they need some interior presence. And I don't know what they're
yeah,
doing. What's going on with DeAndre Jordan?
um, I'm not sure what's going on with DeAndre Jordan, but I will say that Sharp. One of the good things that I heard about him, not sure if it was true, but I definitely need to look more into that. Uh, his 3 point shot has been coming along and been more consistent. So I think that that's one of the interesting
Really?
things for him. Yeah, yeah. So if he can develop that as well, that's definitely something that's gonna be fairly huge. So I think that
Yeah, and they got
that's an
Cameron
interesting.
Thomas from LSU, right? Who's the
Hmm.
just a natural scorer.
Yeah,
They
he
also
fits
got a
in
yeah.
perfectly. Yeah.
I think that's a good pick, and then Raquan Gray from Florida State, who I think he kind of is like a kind of a do-it-all kind of guy. You know what I mean? So
Hmm.
I think he could be, as long as he can play a little bit more defense, he can be like the Bruce Brown role, so they can get some depth in that in terms of defensively. But
Yeah.
I thought they had a good draft too, in addition to free agency. So I like the fact that it seems like they were trying to get better because they need more depth than what they had last year. Because maybe if they had the depth, they could have made it to the finals and people could have got healthy. And who knows, right? So I think they did a good job of trying to fill in some gaps and strengthen some weaknesses.
Yeah, definitely. Um, I was trying to think. There was one other team that I was considering. I did want to just say a couple things. I did like that Memphis got Zaire Williams. Uh, that's a really good pick and a really good place for him to go. Maybe they had a different mindset of where they were going to initially go, but Zaire Williams was one of those kids that came into college with really high expectations. And he had some really good games. His first game, or one of the games, he came out with a triple double, and he looked amazing. Other games, he came out and he just looked lost. His shot was off. He didn't look like he knew what he was doing. But he went through a lot of different things this season with personal issues as well. All of their games for Stanford were away, and I think that that was one of those issues that kind of affected how he played. So Memphis now is getting another guy that can run, can handle the ball, can pass, and can get rebounds. Like, I love what Memphis is doing, and I'm excited to see where they go. Uh, Devion Mitchell, I think he's an awesome pick. I don't know if I like what they did in Sacramento, now having basically three guards, I guess. Yeah, I guess they're kind of like three guards with Fox, with Tyrese Halliburton, and with Devion Mitchell. But Devion can guard a lot of people. He can score really good 3-point shot. He's doing amazing in the summer league so far. I think he put up 23 points yesterday and shut people down on defense. So shout out to him. And then the last one that I wanted to talk about was the Pacers. Pacers got Chris Duarte, and then they also got Isaiah Jackson, right? Oh, no, yeah, Isaiah Jackson, right? So Duarte, a lot older, a little bit more of a developed player, especially on the offensive side, can hit shots from wherever, dribble pull-ups, he can hit step-back shots. But one of the biggest issues that I saw with him is that people, they talk about his defense like it's really good. I think he like was all defensive team, or maybe got like defensive player or something like that of the Pac-12 or something. But he he his defense is not that good. It's really not that good. His off-ball defense, he looks lost. His on-ball defense, he takes too many stutter steps, and because of that, or false steps, and because of that, it puts him out of position. And I think that at the NBA level, he's really going to have to hone in on that. He did start playing basketball later in his career. I think he didn't play until like high school or something like that, or late into middle school. But again, there's a lot of areas to develop. He has a lot of potential. He's a hard worker, and I think that he's very focused. So I think that that's a good part. I'm not sure how they're going to use him overall, but I imagine he's going to come off the bench to start out and just provide that scoring as well. He can drive to the lane. He doesn't really have the best handles with respect to consistently going against the best defender, and then when he does get trapped, oftentimes it's harder for him to find the correct pass or the correct guy to get to. So it'll be interesting, a lot of areas to develop, but he does do some things like get blocks and steals on the defensive side every now and then, but I wouldn't hold my hat on that at the NBA level. The other pick that they got was Isaiah Jackson from Kentucky, and this guy has a very quick bounce. He can't shoot at all, but I think he might be able to develop that. So hopefully, if he's able to develop that, we get a little bit more of that scoring. I think his shot mechanics actually look fairly good for somebody that can't hit shots. So maybe he just really needs to work with the shooting coach to kind of develop that. And if he can get some type of like corner 3-point shot that's consistent, even then he'll be really solid. Even his drives and his layups, he misses a lot of layups, even being as tall as he is. And I think he doesn't understand how to finish with contact or finish in the lane. And if he can develop that, awesome. Rebounds, he's really good at running, defense. He can do all of that. So interesting young player that we have there. And with that combination, I'm excited to see what the Pacers do. I don't know how it's going to turn out, but hopefully Rick Carlisle gets them together. So we'll see what happens with that. So outside of that, what do you think about free agency so far? So there's been a couple of things in free agency. We saw that Chris Paul declined his contract, right? And then he got a new one. Um, and there's been a lot of other things that have happened as well. But what are some of the interesting things that have happened in free agency that you feel could impact maybe who wins the championship next year or who is actually competing for it?
So we have to talk about the Russell Westbrook trade. It wasn't free agency, but
Wait,
it
what happened
was
to
a
Russell Westbrook?
trade. We have to talk about Russell Westbrook to the Lakers.
He's on the
So
Lakers.
yes, Russell Westbrook will be
Whoa!
going to the Lakers. Um,
Wow. Okay.
I think so. Whenever the trade has to go through, he will be on the Lakers. You didn't miss that. I know you're doing that for effect, right?
What? What effect?
What effect? Yeah. So we have to figure out how does Westbrook make the Lakers better. I think that's kind of a huge one. It's not exactly free agency, but it was right before free agency. It's centered around the draft. They had a couple of draft picks that needed to be sorted out based on the Russell Westbrook trade. So I think that one to me is the biggest move that we've seen in the last week or so. And while it isn't free agency, it's still a huge move that will affect the NBA. So
Yeah.
I'll talk a little bit. I don't know what they're doing. So I know you love Russell Westbrook. I know that's your guy. I just feel like this is turning into let's get everybody that has ever been good before and then see how it works. So we got Westbrook, who Westbrook's not like old, but Westbrook, you feel like at some point he has a thing that he does. And he does that well, but he doesn't play well with others. And we've seen the last couple of years, he's been with Bradley Beal, he's been with James Harden. They haven't really coexisted well because Russell Westbrook cannot play off ball. And he's going to play with LeBron James, who does not want to play off ball. So, like, how's that going to work? And luckily,
So,
the Lakers have filled in
yeah.
some of their gaps here. So the Lakers, let's see, who did they just sign? Let me see. They got Wayne
So
Ellington, Trevor Ariza for shooting, and
36,
they got Dwight
33,
Howard. Say what?
35, 36,
Who?
33, 35. Ariza's
Are these
36.
measurements?
Ellington's no. This is their ages. So this is the biggest issue that I have with them. Right. One of the things that I saw at the end of the season was LeBron was gassed. He was gassed. He didn't have anybody to help support him. So now they're going to bring in a bunch of older guys that might also have some of those same issues. So let me just read off the ages of the Lakers next year. You got Melo, who's 3
Don't
years
forget,
away from
we
being
didn't even
40.
say that Melo was on this team. Melo's on the team.
Melo's on the team. So Melo, who's 3 years away from being 40. Bron, who's 4 years away from being 40, so 37, 36. Gasol, who's 36. Ariza, 36. Dwight, 35. Ellington, 33. Kent Bazemore is also 32. Russell Westbrook, 32. And then you get to the 20-year-olds, which there's a whopping 4. AD is 28, but you know he's always hurt, so he plays like a 35-year-old. You got Kendrick Nunn, who is out there. Yeah, okay.
Third year.
As long as he can get his stuff right. He's 26, right? Then you have Malik Monk, who just came from Charlotte, right? He was in Charlotte, right?
Yeah.
Who's 23, and then they have Tucker, Horton Tucker, right?
Yeah.
And he's 20, right? So everybody on their team.
You're telling me Malik Monk is only 23 years old?
Yeah, because he only spent 1 year at UK, right? Yeah,
that's crazy. I
so
didn't know
he only
was
spent
that
1
young.
year there. Yeah, he spent 1 year there. I think he came out when he was 18 or 19. Spent those 4 years or so, and now his rookie contract is over. So yeah, so
that's crazy. I didn't
under
know.
25, they only have 2 players under 25.
Yeah, it seems like Malik Monk has already gone through so much because he's already been kind of a disappointment to the Charlotte, right? Like when he came out, you're like, he can shoot, he's crazy athletic, and he just, but it's Charlotte, so I understand why he, hasn't really lived up to his potential there. But of course, being with a better system, a better environment, better organization, I'm sure he'll play better. But yeah, they are kind of top heavy in terms of age of people. And it's so weird, like
Kinda.
we talked about ring chasing, We had a whole thing on ring chasing, and we had a little part about Melo, about how Melo wasn't really ring chasing. He was kind of he went with Portland, and he wanted to fit in and be happy on a team. And now he's
Mhm.
all out ring chasing, and now he's looking like old Karl Malone going to the Lakers. So
See,
like
I,
the whole Melo thing, we were like Melo, man, he's doing it his own way. Now he's like, nah, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it the way everybody else did, but at such a later stage than what he
yeah,
probably should have.
I'll say that I won't even say that he's necessarily ring chasing. I just feel like they hoping for a ring at this point. Like, it, I I will say that I wish I think if things were a little bit better with the Trailblazers, if there was more consistency, if they didn't have um, the issues that they had with the coaching and all this other stuff, like with Dame possibly staying, possibly leaving, whatever, I feel like maybe Portland would have been a good place for him because he really got into his old man identity, his old man game, where he was able to really contribute at a fairly solid level, even as not being the star. And with the Lakers, I just wonder how they're going to use him. What Melo do they think they're getting? Do they think they're getting 23-year-old Melo, or do they think they're getting 33-year-old Melo or 37-year-old Melo? Ain't that crazy? That's wild, man. But either way, I think that with with what the Lakers have going on, who, what is that starting lineup, right? What does that starting lineup look like? So let's see. If you have Russ at the point, right? Or I guess I guess he has to start the point, right? So you got Russ at the point. You have AD at the 4, Dwight at the 5, LeBron at the 3, and then for your 2, I don't know who you putting at the 2, right? Because Melo's gonna have to come off the bench unless you're gonna run LeBron at the 2. Like what? No, what's going on, right? So like,
Maybe
who's
Malik Monk.
so that's what I'm saying. Like, you need to have Malik Monk maybe at the 2, Bazemore, Wayne Ellington. Maybe they're gonna use Ellington so he can hit those threes or something like that. But then again,
Yeah.
off the bench, now you have 37-year-old Melo with 36-year-old Gasol. So that's gonna be your 4-5. Then what? Your Ariza's gonna be your 3. I just don't.
I feel like Ariza probably could sneak into the lineup, the starting lineup though. I think he probably could. But it is kind of weird because there's a lot of overlap between their, I will say, not best players, but like their most well-known players, like the ones
Yeah,
that they acquired in free agency. There's a lot of overlap there. And we know that the shooting guard position, if you've ever played fantasy basketball, you know the shooting guard position is the thinnest position in the NBA. There's just not that many good shooting guards. So I don't know. It's hard to say. I mean, I guess KCP was their shooting guard, right? He was their kind of starting two guard. So like you can't really expect there to be a huge upgrade over that because there's just not that much depth at the position. There's not that many great shooting guards. So what do you do? I'm not sure. We'll have to see. There's no way that they're going to keep this team. Like if they start off with this team halfway through the season, they might have a different team anyway. You know how that stuff goes.
yeah. I don't know,
It's
man.
weird to think that Dwight Howard would be starting when Dwight Howard hasn't started in years, right? Like we already decided Dwight Howard was going to be a bench player, right? We already decided that since the last time he was on the Lakers, and they told him he had like no chance. He had zero tolerance policy for his goofiness or whatever, and he managed to stay on the team, get the ring, but he hasn't like we all decided. I thought at that point he wasn't a starter, so there has to be something different. AD doesn't want to start at the 5, but AD probably needs to unless they make a move. That way LeBron can be the 4, and then you can kind of fill it out a little bit there because LeBron's going to need to be either the point guard or he's going to need to have his back to the basket and kind of like a mini Shaq passing the ball from the post. But there's no way that he and Westbrook can really coexist very well because Westbrook is not a spot up shooter. He's one of the worst percentage wise high volume 3-point shooters. So that's not his thing. He needs to attack. He needs the ball in his hand. So maybe he does a lot of cutting, a lot of slashing, going to the lane. Maybe he does a lot of mid range and they find him, but There's only one ball. That's going to be a problem between him and LeBron. I think Anthony Davis is going to be fine. I think everybody else on the team is either a spot up shooter or they're fine getting theirs off the glass. But
Yeah.
those two guys, it's going to be hard to see how they coexist.
Yeah, I feel like that's one of the biggest issues is that I'm not sure how Westbrook adds to the efficiency, right? Like that starting lineup that you have with AD, with LeBron, those guys are fairly efficient type of players, right? That's the game that they play is more about efficiency and domination. Russ has domination and just energy and pace and all of these different things, and that's kind of a clashing style. And what I would have said, but the way that they put the team together is that you have to have Russ in a situation where he can really dominate with the second team offense and he can just come out there, use his energy, get triple doubles against the second team, and that'll be amazing, right? Now you can give LeBron a break, give AD a break, put him in there with other guys. But I would have assumed younger other guys that can contribute. But now it's just guys that can't necessarily run. Like, I guess they can run. I guess I shouldn't call them like old to the point that they can't run. You know what I mean? But it is definitely different, right? It's different when you're running against 22-year-olds, 18-year-olds, 19-year-olds that aren't bad players, right? Like you used to have like 22-year-olds that you could take advantage of because you had more basketball smarts, right? You could understand their weaknesses, go around them, post them up. But a lot of these young guys, when we're talking about Luka, when we're talking about Ja, right? When we're talking about a lot of these younger individuals, Shea Gilchrist, right? Like these guys can do a little bit of everything, and now they're going to be running full speed, velocity. It's going to be hard. It's not going to be as easy as I think the Lakers fans think that it's going to be, because yeah, fatigue is definitely a factor. And I'm getting older, so I know, man. Like, I be waking up like, man, my knees, my back. Dang, why is my back hurting? What did I do yesterday to make this hurt so bad? But anyway, it's the same. It's the same type of thing, So it's like Father Time gets the best of all of us, and maybe this is their last go at it. I know that there was talk before that LeBron wanted to play with Dwayne Wade and Chris Paul, right, and Melo, and try to make that whole thing happen, and that would have been fun and everything. But yeah, we'll see. We'll see what happens with the Lakers, man. So I didn't know we
Yeah,
were
and
gonna
I
talk
think the
about the Lakers for that
Suns.
long, but yeah.
I mean, it was the biggest news. I think the Suns got they're the same, but they made the conference finals. So at the very least, they haven't gotten worse by keeping Chris Paul on. I don't think so. So the Suns are about the same. Let's see who else was really a competitor. Let's see. The Clippers are going to be worse because Kawhi is going to miss the whole season. So they're maybe not a factor. The Mavericks, I think, are going to be as good with experience, and then they got Reggie Bullock, so they got another shooter, so they might be a little bit better.
They lost Carlisle though.
So,
Who's their coach
oh
now?
yeah, they did. J Kid, yeah.
Yeah.
So they got J Kid now as coach, so that will be a huge impact on what they do. But if Luka's great, then maybe he can overcome that because they have a lot of really good bench players and a good roster. So a lot of people want to see the Mavs kind of make a run next year, and they're young. They like to run. They can give the Lakers some trouble. So I think the Lakers didn't necessarily get better on the court, and they lost Caruso too, who is a defensive guy, right? So like they lost a huge part of their defense, which was the best part of their team. KCP also. So they lost some defensive guys to get some more offensive minded guys who you haven't seen to be great defenders. I think Ariza and Howard are the two defensive guys that they got that in their acquisitions. So I think if they can stay on the court and be healthy, then that's okay. But they're both, what you say, 36, 35, 36. So
Yeah.
they're both up there too. So yeah, at some point I think it will catch up to them also. Did you have any other teams that you thought got better or were interesting in free
Um,
agency?
like I said, I think Memphis got a little bit better with the draft, and then also Utah did a couple of things. They brought back Mike Conley. They also got Jared Butler from the champion Oregon Ducks in the second round. I know he had
Baylor
a couple of
Bears.
different. Yeah, sorry, Baylor Bears. My bad. I'm thinking about Green. All right, so the Baylor Bears. Why did I say Oregon? Oh yeah, I know. Never mind. So from the Baylor
Duarte.
Bears, right? And yeah, and I think that that's a really good addition. You know, they got a guy that's actually probably more NBA ready than most people in the draft as well. He's still fairly young, only 20 years old, but coming off that second team, that helps out. And then when we talked about Mike Conley in the playoffs being injured and their team not necessarily looking the same, that was one of those areas that they definitely needed a little bit of help on. So they're getting better as well. Spurs, I don't necessarily know what happens to the Spurs this upcoming year. Who knows with the whole thing with DeRozan? I don't even know where he's gonna go or if he's gonna stay.
Bulls.
You know, like, huh? Oh, he went
He's
to the
supposed to go to the
Bulls.
Bulls.
Okay,
Sign and
so yeah,
trade, I think.
who did they get?
I have
I
no
know
idea.
Lonzo.
Look it up.
Lonzo's going to the Bulls, right?
Lonzo's going to the Bulls also.
Yeah. So,
So the Bulls are going to have players. They got Vucevic. They got Levine. They got Lonzo. They're going to get DeRozan. So do they have shooting? Kind of a little bit, but
uh, oh, it was probably Markkinen. That's probably who they did the trade for with Markkinen.
yeah.
So
Check
let
it
me
out.
see.
I didn't see the details of the trade.
Oh, so basically the Bulls acquired DeMar DeRozan with a 3-year, $85 million fully guaranteed from the Spurs in exchange for Thaddeus Young, Al-Farouq Aminu, and a 2025 first round pick and a second round pick in 2022 and 2025. So they didn't really give up too much, I think, overall for their team. They actually cut a lot of costs. I think Al-Farouq Aminu just picked up his uh, option or his contract, or not his. What? Sorry. You know when those ads pop up in the middle while you're reading things, like those post ads? It's like you've been reading something for a minute, but they kind of show up, right? So now they have DeRozan there. They have Zach LaVine. You know, I feel like they have a lot of solid pieces for the Bulls. One team, though, that I'll say that I don't know if they necessarily got better. What do you think about the Celtics? What have the Celtics done?
What did the Celtics do? I know they lost Fournier to the Knicks. I saw that.
Mhm.
All of my little notes here, I didn't have the Celtics doing anything. Did they do anything?
Um, no, they're just interested in Danny Green. I think that's all they have, right? Like,
Interested,
I
huh?
don't think
That's
Boston
nice.
has really did too much, you know. But hopefully some of their young guys come along. You know, they have Romeo Langford, one of those guys that a few years ago showed a lot of promise at Indiana University. Again, you have Jason Tatum there, Jalen Brown, who was injured, and before that injury, they looked a lot better. So these guys are still growing as well. But yeah, I'm not necessarily sure that they've advanced with what's going on. Oh, did they get Josh
Who did
Richardson
they?
too?
Who did they? So they got rid of Tice last year, right? And who did they get to
Theus?
replace him? Yeah, they got rid of him. Who did they get to replace him?
Uh, I don't know. Al Horford? I don't. Yeah,
Did
yeah.
they?
I
Wait,
think.
did they? Yeah, yeah. Maybe it
Yeah,
was Horford.
yeah.
I'm just
So
trying to figure out what they're gonna do because when I think about tandems and who's gonna be good, your tandem can't be two wing players or like two guards. You need to have a wing player and a big to be a really good tandem. So I'm just trying to figure out like those two, Brown and Tatum. That's fine that they're both going to be good, but they're not going to be able to carry the team. Just those two. They need some inside presence. They're going to need a good big down there. So I was just trying to figure out who
mm,
who is going to be down there. Because the thing
so they
about them is that's what they
they
think is that those two guys are going to be able to carry the team, right? Like their whole thing was let them develop and let them be the future.
Speaking of that, I just saw what they did do. Right, they just brought in Enos Cantor. You know, and Enos Cantor is solid, but I don't know. Right now, your bigs are basically Al Horford, Enos Cantor, Robert Williams, Grant Williams. And then they got Moses
Robert
Brown.
Williams.
They got
Well,
Moses
okay.
Brown in the trade, and that's one of probably going to be their biggest piece, right? Moses Brown is another one of those young guys that played for OKC. A lot of natural ability, so it'll be interesting to see what he does. Aaron Naismith, they got him as last year as well as a wing. They have Jabari Parker, who I don't really know about that one. They also got Chris Dunn as well, so maybe Chris Dunn kind of helps out and plays that point guard position as well. But overall, I don't really know if Boston has improved to the level that we would consider them uh, a championship competitor, right?
Yeah.
So I think that's one of those things. But like I said, I think that this season is going to be very interesting. A lot of guys that are on the move. A lot of teams are a little bit different coming into this next season, and I think it's wide open, man. I don't know what else? What I guess the last thing that I'll ask you about the NBA and the whole free agency thing is, what do you think about Milwaukee Bucks and their chances to repeat after seeing what's happened so far in free agency?
I I still think that you got to think Brooklyn is the favorite to win the whole thing. So I don't necessarily like we said this after the finals anyway that this might be the only one that Milwaukee gets, and that's okay because they had a good year. They overcame a lot of adversity, and it just worked out for them. I think if Brooklyn is fully healthy, then you got to like what they've done, the players they have, and then what they've added to their team. So I'd like that over Milwaukee. And Milwaukee lost PJ Tucker too, right? So he's going to Miami. So like that's just I think that's veteran presence, that's defensive effort. I think that's some things that you can't necessarily account for in the numbers. So yeah, and then who knows what Miami's going to do since they got Tucker, they got Kyle Lowry as well. So Miami's trying to do something down there. They might not have the most top end talent, but they'll be formidable, I think, considering what they're trying to do now. So I like Brooklyn to win it all. I like Brooklyn to win the East, obviously, because of that. Um, the West, I think, is going to be a little bit more difficult. Maybe this will be the year that Utah takes it if they're fully healthy, because I think Utah had a really good team last year and they were just a couple of injuries. You know, they got injured at the wrong time, whether it's Conley or Mitchell. So I think, if they can keep their team chemistry good, they've been going through a lot of chemistry wise the last couple of years, but I think maybe it's the year that Detroit comes or that Utah comes out of the West and maybe Utah and Brooklyn, but I'm not gonna go with Milwaukee to repeat.
I'll say this: I think that Milwaukee didn't necessarily do too bad. They traded their first overall pick, got a couple of second round picks to help out with depth. Sandro, I don't even know how to spell his last name. Sandro M. He's a big that can actually pass, do a little bit of everything, which is good for a team that needs those kind of guys. I don't know if they really got a true type of center to kind of help out, but you had to think that Sandro is going to be molded to be something like a Brook Lopez with a little bit of better handling, whatever abilities, a little bit quicker. But in addition to that, they got, like you said, Patty Mills is there as well. They're getting Dante DiFrancesco back. In addition to having Giannis, Middleton, Holiday, maybe a Brook Lopez, right? So I think that their team is actually pretty good. They got Bobby Portis back as well. That's one of the things. I'm not sure. Brian Forbes, I imagined. Did he go back to? No, maybe. So if they can keep these guys together, I think that they definitely have a chance. Now they know what it takes to win a championship. Now they know how much energy you have to put forward and things that you have to do to really win, right? It's not the Eastern Conference Finals. It's not the first game of the playoffs. It's not regular season. It's a totally different animal, and just having that experience behind them gives them a edge up on some of those other teams. And additionally, I think they got Semi from the Celtics as well, so another defensive guy that they can add. So when you're talking about them against the Nets, I don't think that it's just the Nets all the way. I think that the Bucks have a lot to showcase and a lot to utilize. And when time comes and you can really isolate and focus on shutting down some of the top players from the Nets, I think the Bucks might still have the upper advantage in that type of game. Now that they're getting back some of their other defensive-minded guards, I think that that's going to be one of those things that really helps them out. So it should be interesting if all are healthy. I say that I still give the Bucks edge to kind of make it to the Eastern Conference final. Sorry, the finals and win the Eastern Conference final. So that's my initial take, but we'll see how the season goes, especially with the Nets and how they do in their second year under was it Steve Nash?
Yeah, Steve Nash.
Yeah, Steve Nash.
Steve Nash.
Wow. All right.
Brooklyn got Patty Mills, by the way, not Milwaukee.
Oh, Brooklyn got Patty. Oh, okay, never mind then. Yeah, Brooklyn got Patty
They're
Mills, and that's
super.
yeah.
Brooklyn is like almost has a $300 million payroll. Well, they have something about like the payroll plus the luxury tax, I think, is $300 million. So the salary is 174 million or something like that. But then their luxury tax is going to be like 130 some million or 120
Wow.
million, whatever.
Wow,
Either
that's a
way,
lot.
they're about to be paying $300 million next year. So
Yeah. Hmm.
yeah,
Man, that's a lot of money. They better bring home something.
yeah. Endorsements at least.
Oh yeah, and the last team that I wanted to talk about is one of the teams, or two of the last two teams, really. What about the 76ers? Have they done anything in free agency outside of and trying to trade Ben Simmons for a crazy amount of picks and prospects that nobody is probably gonna pay? Um, and then also the Atlanta Hawks, they retained a lot of their young talent with John Collins and Trey Young on extended deals. So what about those two teams in general with respect to free agency in the offseason? Any thoughts on those two?
All I saw for the 76ers was that they got Andre Drummond. So another big. I don't know if he's going to back up Embiid or if he's going to play alongside Embiid. We don't know what's going to happen until whatever happens with Ben Simmons happens. That's a lot of the word happen in one short
Yeah.
period. But the Ben Simmons stuff has to go down first, and then we'll see how that plays out. I think that they should just not trade Ben Simmons, and if he's working with his shooting coach provided by Clutch Sports, then he should go ahead and keep using that Clutch Sports shooting coach and let make that happen. Figure out how to be a better shooter. Like we said,
Yeah.
just make free throws. Just do that. Maybe just make free throws and you'll be good. That's what we said with Giannis. Just make your free throws, and maybe you can just go to the lane every time. Some people made a living off of that, so just make those. Atlanta, I like the fact that Atlanta is young. I like that they want to hold on to their young guys, and I think John Collins is only at 25 million a year. That's a good deal. So I think for the team, I think that's a good deal to give him back at 25 a year. I mean, at some point, I think a guy with his skill set is going to be a max player, right? So I don't think this is like max player type money. So I think that's good, and to keep him and Trey together. Yeah, I'm good with that.
Yeah, I'm excited to kind of see what ends up happening with the Hawks with another year, and what they can actually do. They do have a lot of like young talent as well, so maybe they can package that for another veteran. It'd be really cool if they got another guy like say maybe like a Bradley Beal or something like that. That'd actually be pretty cool if they could manage to get a trade to bring him there as well. So could you imagine Trey Young, Bradley Beal, John Collins? That's an interesting lineup. But didn't they trade away Valent? No, that was Memphis. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. I was thinking
So
more
many
you
different
meant
things.
I was thinking more you meant Atlanta to bring back Vince Carter. I don't know why, but I thought that's where you're going. But
Hey, they could do that too. I wouldn't be mad at them if they brought back Vince Carter. He still has a lot in the tank left. He can still show a lot,
a
show a
lot.
lot of
Let's not say
guys.
a lot in the tank.
I
Let's say a
say he got
little
a
bit.
lot left in the
Let's
tank. He
say
got a
he's
lot.
on E.
He
He's
got a
on
lot
E, but
left.
he's not quite empty.
Man, he's been on E for a long time now, and he's still been producing. Like That's like that hybrid car where like you running out of gas, but you still got that electrical energy and those solar
Yeah,
panels to
yeah.
kind of get you there. Yeah, that's
That 50
what this
miles
car
to
is.
empty thing is definitely that light already came on.
Yeah, for sure. So, I think
Oh, by
that's
the way,
all I have. But
yeah, but
go
we
ahead.
need to number one really quick. We need to actually we'll just skip that. We were totally like talking about the wrong matchup for the Olympics for the basketball team. But you know what? Let's don't even worry about it. We'll just not put
No,
that in the podcast.
no, it's cool. What's the matchups now?
It's USA versus Australia. And that's
All
at
right,
12:15, I think it is. 12:15 or 12:35, something like that.
tonight.
Yeah, Eastern. So, yeah, like
Okay, I'll try
9:30.
to check that out.
So, yeah, I
So yeah,
think that
even that
like I said,
team should be.
I like
Go
Team
ahead.
USA in that matchup.
I don't know. I don't know about that. I don't know how. It's if they would have had Ben Simmons, that would have been even better. But they still have a lot of guys. I think it's just gonna depend on the intensity. Like U.S. needs. I love it if they came out with intensity. I think that's one thing that you used to be able to get with LeBron as one of the leaders of the team.
Hmm.
Like when he wanted to be intense, he brought up everyone else's level. Right. Like if Bam tries to be intense, he's not bringing up everybody else's level. If KD tries to
No,
be intense, he's not bringing up Dame. No, it's not that they
no.
don't have that type of guy, And I feel like that's the issue with Team USA. So what they're really going to have to do is focus on making sure that they keep that energy up and find a way to not let um, Australia in the game or to succeed. Because if Australia gets some momentum, those young guys that are running, they played together for a while, like they could be trouble, right? We already said that the U.S. is basically lost to almost all the teams that are left, right?
Yeah.
So so it's kind of like they at some point have had their numbers figured out, so or their number figured out. So it will be interesting to see. And then on the other matchup, who was the other semifinal matchup?
French, France and Slovenia.
France and Slovenia.
Yeah.
Ooh,
So
that's
you
gonna be a
have
fun game too,
the
man.
aspect that France has a lot of talent, but what Slovenia has is sneaky talent.
They
Slovenia,
have the
they
talent.
always talk about they talk about Doncic, but Doncic he hasn't played well in the last few games. But he has Zoran Dragic is on the team. Their guy like Chanchar or something like that. That guy he
Hmm.
can shoot inside outside. Mike Toby, who I think did he play at Virginia? I feel like he did. They have good players on that team. So, like it's not just Luca. You know what I'm saying? Like that's kind of what is so bad about the coverage of these things is they want you to sell you a product. And so it's easy to say Luca's carrying his team, but he's not. Luca is the
Yeah.
difference maker. I think he put the team over the top. Like he hasn't lost as a part of their national team, but I think it's because
Think it's because he what?
he helped them get over the top and helped
Oh,
them
okay.
become a better team. But
Yeah.
because that's another person you have to defend, and he can draw so many people, and he's a good passer and all that. But he's not the only reason that they win, right? He's just the missing piece, I think, in a lot of respects.
Yeah. And like I said, I think that these matchups are actually really, really interesting, and I'm excited to see. I said the Slovenians are winning by an average of 21 and a half points per game. That's pretty good. So
Pretty
we'll
good.
just see what happens when. Um, we'll see what happens next. One sec. Let me see. The 22-year-old who is now. Wow. So Luka Doncic right now, his teams in international play are 17 and 0, which is a
Mhm.
very interesting point. So when we're talking about how good they can be and what he does, I don't know. But what we do know is that they have been winning whatever way it's been. The sneakiness, right? You're talking about Zoran Dragic and the other guys that they have, Senator Toby. You know what I mean? So again, they have a lot of different people. And yeah, I think I will try to stay up and watch some of those games if they're tonight, and then maybe we can discuss those a little bit later or tomorrow or
You ain't
something.
gonna be able to see that. You won't be able to see that France Slovenia one. That one's at 7 a.m. Eastern, I think. So
Oh,
if
I'll
you
just
wanna,
stay up, man. 4 o'clock.
all
Yeah,
right,
I'll just watch them back to back.
man, you too old to be staying up that late, man. You're gonna be out of commission the whole day.
Man, I get up at 6 a.m. That's how I know I'm old now, because I get up at 6 a.m. every morning. Like, man, why can't I just sleep in? Like, either I gotta use the
Yeah.
restroom, my back's hurting. Like, dang,
No,
old man,
me
I'm
too, man.
old.
Me too. My mom gets up at like 4:30 anyway, so I always like have to hear that and hear her. But then as soon as I'm like that, I'm like, morning, like my sleep's over now. Let me go ahead and get another hour, hopefully, and then I'll get up. I did have kind of a rant going. So, all right, we're gonna have a little rant real quick.
All right.
So, Olympics, right?
Mhm.
Olympics, it gives you a chance to represent your country, gives you a chance to show your national pride. All right. So the United States has been doing pretty well in the gold medal count. And my numbers are old because I wrote this down like yesterday or something. But do you know the men's 100-meter champion? You're on mute for some reason.
I
Unmute
muted
yourself.
myself. Yeah. Was it from Italy or Canada? Right?
He is from Italy. Do you know what
Italy.
his
Yeah.
name is? Do you know what his
I
name
forgot
is?
it. I forgot it.
All right, look it up real quick. I want you to read his name.
All right.
Look up men's 100-meter Olympics or something.
You know this stuff doesn't work. Man, I try to do this, and the first thing they try to bring up is 2004. Why are they trying to? This is what I'm talking about, man.
What are you using? Bing?
Man. Um. Now, Marcel Jacobs.
Yes, yes, yes.
All right.
What does that sound like to you? Does that sound like an Italian guy to you?
It sounds like Mark Jacobs. It
It
sounds like
sounds
the.
like a black dude. It sounds like
It
a
sounds
black
like
dude to
Mark
me.
Jacobs.
So check it. He was born in El Paso, Texas. Father
Hey,
was in the
yeah.
armed forces, I believe. Mother was Italian. His parents like split and he went to go to Italy with his mother, right? So there you have it, right? Lamont Marcel Jacobs Jr. I said that to my mom. My mom was like, "That's a black dude. Like that's a black dude's name right there." And so he's Italian, but is he? How did we not keep this guy in America? Right? That's one case. It's crazy to me. We didn't keep him in America. All right.
We didn't
Look at
keep him.
the 100-meter women's 100-meter hurdle champion. Women's 100-meter hurdles.
All right, let me see if I can find that. All right, let's see. Jasmine Camacho Quinn.
Jasmine Camacho Quinn,
She's Dominican,
representing
probably, right?
Puerto Rico, is what she's
Oh,
representing.
Puerto
You
Rico.
know where she
Yeah.
was born? She was born in Columbia, South Carolina.
Hey, yeah.
Another
Diversity.
American, another American who chose to represent where her mother is from in Puerto Rico. So we lost another one, another gold medalist right there. Men's pole
Hey,
vault.
well,
Men's pole vault. Look at the men's pole vault champion.
but how many? I'll ask you this question: how many people have came to the U.S. after being born somewhere else that have helped contribute to the U.S. winning championships
Look at
as
the men's
well?
pole vault champion.
I'm just asking you. I'm asking you that question because this
I'm
goes
not
hand
done.
in hand with
I'm
that.
not done. I'm not done. Look at the men's pole vault champion.
All right. So, Chris Nielsen? No, Chris Nielsen or
No,
somebody Nielsen?
Armand Duplantis. Armand Duplantis is his name.
Oh yeah, they don't really try to show me the top results. Okay, here we go. I got it. Amar Duplantis. Okay, cool.
Armand Duplantis. He's from Louisiana, but he's representing
And,
Sweden. He's a world record holder too. This guy was dominating,
yeah.
but
Hey.
he's representing Sweden because his mother is Swedish and his dad. He was born in America, but his mother is Swedish. He went to high school in America. Like how are we losing all these great players? How are we losing all these great athletes? You know what I'm saying? Like, what is it that we got to do to try to keep these gold medalists really good people in the country. I know that they have allegiances to other countries, and these are all from the mother, right? So that just goes to show how much people feel about their mothers. At least where we're from, where like, wherever your mom's from, you're like, I'm representing that. I want that, like for whatever reason. That's crazy to me though. I saw that, I was like, how is this happening again? How are these people like? I gotta stop looking up people on Wikipedia because I keep finding out they're born in the United States, or they're just straight up like have one parent at least that's American. All these people I just said were actually born in the United States, and through one circumstance or another decided to represent another country. But it's like the opposite of kind of Team USA basketball in a sense, because most people that can make the Team USA basketball team, I feel like, don't look to represent any other country, and maybe they don't have any other ties. But when people have other ties, maybe that they don't feel like they can make it on the American team, Except for, I would argue, definitely not the pole vaulter who's the world record holder. I'm pretty sure at some point he knew he was good enough to make any team in the world, right? Like he's been good since he was in high school, I think, and his dad was a pole vaulter. So how like I just found that just mind blowing, and I was like, wow, we lost at least three of those gold medals right there, and it's not been a great medal type Olympics. Like we're leading the overall medal count, but we have more silvers, I think, than gold, or at least we like
Yeah,
got the most
yeah,
silvers,
more silvers than yeah.
gold. So I'm just wondering, how does that work? What goes into that, and are we kind of pushing people away that can actually win medals for us because some of the events that we're not doing so well. Like I don't know, did American win a 100-meter medal at all? I think maybe they might have been the bronze, but
Yeah, they
you know,
didn't. So I just wanted
in
to
the
I wanted to
past
read
we've had
you.
a lot
Go
of
ahead.
good sprinters. Sorry, I just finished real quick. In the past, we've
Mhm,
had like a lot of good sprinters, right?
mhm.
Like before
Yeah.
Usain Bolt came in, it was America, right? Before Usain Bolt, so we definitely have to figure out how to get back to that.
Well, I think part of it is also resources as well. You know what I mean? And I think that that's one of the things is that resources came more prevalent at other places as well, and they were able to allow athletes that had potential to actually go and develop that. Right? Like some of these places may have had really good athletes that didn't have the opportunity to compete in the Olympics because they didn't have the name recognition, they didn't have the shoes, they didn't have the sponsorships, they didn't have whatever else, right? I just wanted to read one thing from Duplantis, right? So this is what Duplantis said. He said, "If I'm being honest, if I had a mother who was from a different country, I would have gone with the other country." Um, oh, Oh no, this is Chris Nielsen, the one that lost to Duplantis, right? So if I'm being honest, if I had a mother who was from a different country, I would have gone with the other country. Not to say that I don't love the United States, but it's so much easier for people who don't compete for the United States to get in because the United States Olympics team is the hardest team in the world to make. So that right there is one of the reasons why a lot of these people, no matter how good they are, right, may not be really trying to join the team USA, right? Because it is very hard to get into. Even if you're the top competitor, right? If you don't have the top times, or if your coach thinks that another person is going to perform better, right? Now you have a lot more competition, and maybe your mindset and your feelings aren't behind just trying to compete just to get to the Olympics. If you have a shot to get to the Olympics, you want to make sure that you get there. And if you can do that by representing another country, what does that mean? So now the question comes is, what does it mean to represent a country in the Olympics? Is it representation of a country, or is it just part of being in the Olympics and competing at the highest level internationally, right? I think that's the new question that we have to think about with all of these people that are competing for different countries. Is it about national pride for another country, or is it just about the possibility to get to the Olympics? And if that is the case, now your point becomes, well, what do we think about with the medal count? Is there really a need for a medal count in a comparison if it's just another competition with people wearing some type of country across their chest? Or
Yeah,
That's all I had.
yeah. I mean, I think maybe the next Olympic cycle, things will be hopefully a little bit more normal, and there'll be fans there, and we'll feel more inclined to be able to watch. And then maybe that'll change a lot of things in terms of our viewing experience, the pride people have, things like that. I know that it's just like it's been hard this year for a lot of reasons. So, maybe it feels like just a competition this year. Maybe it'll be different next time, It's hard to say, but I hope it does. And again, I'm not, not to disparage the people who won those medals representing the countries of their choice, but if you're gold medalist, you would feel like they should be able to qualify as, on the US team if they wanted to. So, interesting thought, and I'm glad you read that quote because that does shed a lot of light and it answers pretty much the question that I'm asking here. So, it's just an interesting thought though. Like, would I represent another country if my mom was from another country? I don't know. I feel like the type of person I am, I don't do a whole lot of like, other stuff. I just be like, hey, I'm American, I'm gonna be American. You know what I mean? Like I feel like I wouldn't rock the boat, but I'm not in that position. I'm not competing for a spot to try to get to the most, hallowed type sporting event that there is. So who
Well,
knows?
I'll add to that point because I know we're getting towards the end, but I just want to add to that point, right? When you're talking about that, and you're considering that, right? Say for example, you're Rant, right? You would love to play for Team USA, but it's so competitive that they chose so many. They chose Kevin Love over you, right? So, do you say, okay, cool? Well, my mom's from Barbados. My mom's from the UK. My mom's from Australia, right? If Josh's mom's from Australia and he has a chance to compete at that national level, like, all right, cool. I'm gonna do that because the U.S. they be on that other stuff, right? They play their favorites. There's maybe more politics that goes into it as well with sponsorships. People that have, there's so many different things. So maybe you say, hey, I'm just gonna play for this other country because I still represent that country. It's still part of me, and yeah, why keep competing with this team where I'm not even gonna be able to start or get minutes? Let me just go ahead and play for another country, and I could see that happening. And this isn't the first year that this has happened. It's been going on for a long time, and just like you're saying, there's other people that come from other countries that have U.S. citizenship and they represent the U.S. So now if you're a player that's considering representing your country, and now you have to compete against other international people or other people that used to be considered international that are now American as well, now it just makes it even more of a competitive type of field to get into. So I just think that this is a part of the Olympics, and I guess I wouldn't say it's necessarily a bad part, but it is definitely different, right? When you're when you're like, how are these guys all from the U.S. and they're representing somewhere else? Because it doesn't make sense to us because we don't understand that part about it. But I think that's definitely a good conversation. Thank you for bringing up that point because I didn't know that these people from Louisiana either. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But
The
that's
one
pretty
thing
cool.
I will say though is that when you think about what the ideals of America are supposed to be, we always say that America is a melting pot, right?
Yeah.
So no matter what you look like representing America, it makes sense according to the ideals of our country, right?
Hmm.
So if I see someone that looks drastically different from me competing, I'm like, that's an American because that's what America is supposed to be. Everyone's supposed to be able to come to America and succeed in America. That's the American dream. So there's there's no single person that could exist that could look any way that I would say, why is he representing America? Right? Other countries don't seem to have that same type of melting pot construction, right? That's just some countries are a little bit more homogenized than America is. So that's to me why I think that to me for America, it's no surprise when other people look a certain way, right? Like, whatever people are good at from wherever they came, if they immigrate to America and their country is good at something, I'm not surprised that they would represent America in that country, in that sport, in that discipline. So that to me is what America is and how it's constructed and what the American dream is. So I'm okay with that. That's kind of why it never struck out to me like when Americans were of different cultural backgrounds and ethnicities, right? Because
Mhm.
that's what it should be.
That's what it should be. But I know what you mean. Yeah, that's what it like. It's like that's what America should look like. It should look like a diverse group of people from all over. And I think like what you're saying is that there's just a little bit of a disconnect when people are doing it in the reverse direction, and you're like, I didn't anticipate
Yeah.
that. I didn't necessarily see that happening. You know. And I think that's just one of the things that we have to remember as a country is that we have some of the best and greatest athletes um, in the world that live here, but they can also represent other places as well. And it's just shocking when we're like, oh man, didn't even know that person grew up and went to the same high school as me. You know, they represent Sweden,
Yeah.
but it's just that international part. And um, like I said, shout out to all the Olympians. No matter how this Olympics went, they still participated in the Olympics and they still have that memory, whatever memory it is from them. They have that memory to go into the future. So hopefully the next Olympics will be a little bit more fan social that type of thing. But you never really know with COVID because what 2022 is the Winter Olympics, right? And where's the Winter Olympics at this year? Is it in
Oh, I don't know. I don't know.
or next year? So yeah, so
I
that
haven't looked
one
that far in.
maybe we'll have fans, maybe we won't. Hopefully in the future we will. But I'll tell you one thing. Last thing I'll say about Olympics. I think it's 2028 is going to be in LA, and I'm excited for that Olympics. I know there's going to be so much different stuff going on. Yeah, that should be a very interesting, fun Olympics. So I only have what 7 years till then. 7 years. Shoot. Yeah, 7 years is a wow.
Make sure you sleep though. Make sure you sleep between now and then. Just get your sleep.
I won't. I
Don't
won't.
mess
I'll
up your
be
sleep
up.
habit.
I don't even think I sleep anymore. I think I just like rest throughout the night thinking, and then my body just gets
Hmm.
up and is like, oh yeah, open your eyes now.
You don't even have
So
kids, at least that I know of. You don't even have kids. I don't know why you don't sleep. I know parents don't ever sleep, but like as a person with no kids, you got to enjoy that sleep. You never know. One day you mess
I
around
guess
having kids and
yeah.
you're done.
No, it's all right. We'll see. We'll see. Maybe one day. So, but
2022
yeah,
Winter
man.
Olympics in Beijing.
Beijing. Oh yeah, that's what it was. One Japan, then China. Yeah, so Beijing, China. Ooh, that should be a man. 2020. Sorry, last 2020 is coming up super quick for those Beijing Olympics, and with this Delta variant and stuff. I wonder what's going to happen with those specific Olympics, and if they're going to be the same type of issues. Because again, that is literally right around the corner, and with all the complexities of uh, this Tokyo Olympics, yeah, that'll be interesting to see.
Yeah.
That'll be something that we have to monitor going forward. How the Winter Olympics is coming together and what it's looking like. So
Yeah, I guess it's 6 months away. It starts February 4th, so it's like 6 months to from today.
yeah,
So,
that's pretty wild. So maybe there won't be fans there either. Yeah, I, yeah, be interesting,
yeah.
man. But all right, well,
Well, we'll
any
see
other?
how we do
Yeah,
this.
go ahead.
No, no, I'm good. We'll see how I do this because I got to take out that first part of the conversation where we didn't know who USA was playing. So I can't have that in the podcast.
Oh, it's all right. Well, yeah, we'll just crop it. It's already on Facebook anyways. You just take it down, take it all down, shut the whole site
Nah,
down.
I'll leave it on Facebook. I don't care. Nobody's gonna watch it on Facebook, but the 3 or 4 people that listen to the podcast, they'll know.
Yeah, and hopefully I can chop some stuff up pretty soon and then add it to YouTube once we get some better uh, video quality, but also just using those thumbnails. But yeah, once we get some more video quality, then we'll have a little bit of a more productive production type of show as well. So be on the lookout for that. Hopefully we'll have that pretty soon. So cool. Any thoughts before we get out of here, man?
Nah, stay on after we stop real quick.
No. This is Beyond Sports with Paul and Jeremy. I am Paul.
Jeremy.
All right, and thank you guys for listening. We're gonna continue this conversation, so we'll see you guys later. Peace.
All right, take it easy.